I pray that God will bless you in everything that you do. I pray that you will grow intellectually so that you can understand the problems of the world and where you fit into in that world picture.
Sun vibrates, earth revolves, how can I rise? If I perceive through a calcified third eye, Merkaba's looking like paper mache today, and words of wisdom from ancestors are now cliche, blowing like dust away, or metal rust away, doing wrong unto others and got enough to say. We shackled our slaves, now we wear cuffs today. Wanna make your wife a dyke, you go trust the gay. Iron sheet punchlines made Douglas bust the sway. Knitted times if crochet or custom made, RBG or RG, it's still MST. Getting guards off Ritalin and pills stamped with E. I go, I made. Youths chant with me on the front lines, and I got no grant with me. All diamonds are bloody, rapping blood clot dummy. Thinking that's real Imhotep playing a movie mummy. Give up a tar doll and call it an Oscar, calling me grouch when I drop the truth on ya. Use hip-hop to wake those you call young goats at risk, cause they gun-toed and inhale gun smoke. Mufti shoot, nah, get a neck thumb poke. Trying to order me on the 9 to 5 like a slave boat. Master gets nailed to walls like plaster or gyprock. Illegal tackle in battle or catch a hip block.
And I pray that all the fear that has ever been in your heart will be taken out. And when you look at that man, if you know he's nothing but a coward, you won't fear him. If he wasn't a coward, he wouldn't gang up on you. This is how they function. They function in mobs. That's a coward. They put on a sheet so you won't know who they are. That's a coward. Now, the time will come when that sheet will be ripped off.
You're scared to say don't touch my ass, you b-boy cowards. Try that with me, ball in your face like 48 hours. Bloody your nose, maybe bloody your clothes. Kick Satan's ass in Eden's garden and bloody your rose. Bloody your spit, I'm just like bronchitis severe. Hex alpha omega, I'll make blood of your tears. Not on the Mike Tyson style, but I'll bloody your ears. Verbal shotgun blast you and your fam, bloody your peers. Some Pan-Africans ask why they bloody the feds. I say trail of tears is when they bloodied my fez. Without inspection, I see fiction correction. Too much diction and not enough soul reflection. Agents causing confusion from misconceptions. Distractions make lunch drops like turns missed on sessions. 5 for possessions, I burn up your Wessons. Smith cashing in the bonds, quick to live off pensions. Live off our tensions, I got to mention. Give Moore's European names and live off our inventions. Saying I'm black to cash in on bond investments. Saying I'm a Moor, you giving me psycho assessments.
And I pray that all the fear that has ever been in your heart will be taken out. And when you look at that man, if you know he's nothing but a coward, you won't fear him. If he wasn't a coward, he wouldn't gang up on you. This is how they function. They function in mobs. That's a coward. They put on a sheet so you won't know who they are. That's a coward. Now, the time will come when that sheet will be ripped off.
Like lipo, hybrids getting under my skin. Boot stomp them like an insect, but not under Tim's. I'm into tinted windows, but not into rims. Pilgrim stole my fez and just added a brim. Stole the tassel, convince you that's a degree. Thinking you're smart with 1 out of 360. Thinking you're hot, but run for nursery and curse me. Cause I bun your fried chicken and your beef jerky. Bun out your pork rinds, discharge court fines. Bondless, send a letter, make them acquiesce. Bun the racket, racketeers with muskets modernized. Most lost their first and use modern eyes. Using words that makes language modified. Children's ain't stealing children, make them traumatized. Homos are doing promos and advertise to the lesbian solo with gay chat lines. My space is really their space, Facebook is bait. Locks and pics but bald-headed, proving you're fake. Saying they're for love, but just wanna debate their unintelligence and their lack of knowledge intake.
And I pray that all the fear that has ever been in your heart will be taken out. And when you look at that man, if you know he's nothing but a coward, you won't fear him. If he wasn't a coward, he wouldn't gang up on you. This is how they function. They function in mobs. That's a coward. They put on a sheet so you won't know who they are. That's a coward. Now, the time will come when that sheet will be ripped off.
Islam, Moors, peace and love. Canaanland Moors class. Today is the 21st of February, so-called 2017, and want to give supreme honors to the good master teacher, El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz. You know, today's the day they took him out. So, opened up with Alpha Hex, featuring the good master teacher, El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz. You get that at willofalah.com. Islam to all the Moors worldwide. Peace and love to all the Moors who understand the truth about their nationality and birthrights and choosing to exercise as such. Today, we're just going to go into this term, critical consciousness. Before we do that, black guys, conscious black guys especially, they really playing games with people. I just want to play the black guy, conscious, African, whatever black guy attorney, Alton Maddox. Now just listen to how he's talking and ask yourself what's wrong with our people. Because our people, you know, claim they honor everybody under the sun who came before them, the ancestors, BS. They don't honor anybody. And they look at Moors like they're not us. And all their teachers put it on them.
Home and dragging them out. That's what the problem is. Problem is not we got to get properly defined to know who the enemy is. No black man or woman is my enemy. I don't call 911. If I got a problem, I'm gonna deal it with you myself. The only people to call 911 is us. Only ones. Because we do not have any self-government to take care of our own problems. Crackers should be in the neighborhood. And they certainly should be getting on 911 calls. So we want to make the police department better. The police shouldn't even be in the community. Talking about a civilian review board, there shouldn't be no police department in our community. It ain't one in the Hasidim community. They don't police nobody in the community but ours. Forget about a civilian complaint review board. Let's get rid of these crackers totally. And let's police ourselves. If you got to call crackers, you need to be beaten up. Now you do. People talk about a nation. Well, form a nation. You can form a nation here. We can set up the institution before we go to these 5 states. Nobody got to get on 5 states first before you form a nation. We can be a nation now. Somebody get out loud, we can call court right now. We can send our own police department in. Not ask crackers for none of this. I'm not asking crackers for nothing. That's why you don't see me out here all this crap no more. I'm not begging these crackers no more. Let's form our own government.
Don't forget, this is big time lawyer. It's not a small time guy. Small time guy gave up everything and said, let's do our own stuff. loud and clear, to all the kente cloths, shea butter, plantain soap people. So know yourself. And again, because of people coming into the realization of nationality and birthrights, the people who've been misquoting black leaders to people, right? The people who've been misquoting Noble Drew Ali to people, all their stuff is glass house right now. And everybody has a slingshot. Everybody has a slingshot right now. Automatics.
That's why you don't see me out here all this crap no more. I'm not begging these crackers no more. That's for our own government. For our own police department. For our own military. For our own Secretary of State. Have our own ambassador. Who can stop us from doing that? I don't have to go to no United Nations, ask no crackers for that.
Well, that's for all those, let's go to the UN, get a UN number mores who think United Nations is something. Alton Maddox telling you.
Crackers for that? Who can stop us from doing that? I don't have to go to no United Nations, ask no crackers for that. Am I right?
See how weak that right was, right? See how weak that right, that you see when it came to self-sufficiency and being responsible for ourselves, how weak the right was from all the clappers. The clappers, the same casket carriers with everybody else parade them around.
Have our own government. People talk about the Jews, but no, Jews do not go and fight for America. There ain't no Jews in the military. All right? Because they have their own government right here. They got a government in Crown Heights and Williamsburg. So let's form our government. Police come in their neighborhood, they whip them for trespassing. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life begging crackers for nothing. I'm declaring myself free right now. And I'm going to act accordingly. Making no demands on these crackers. Who are they? In caves where we were selling the world. And you'll be asking them for something. This is madness. When y'all get ready to form something, give me a call. I ain't marching nothing, nowhere no more.
All the black lives, all the women's rights, go out and hold a sign claiming that you're fighting for something. All you remember, this is you guys' guy. This is not a Moorish guy. This is a black guy's guy. And black guys even telling them, you know what? Like, forget this BS. We gonna form our own stuff, or what are we gonna do? Now keep in mind, Noble Drew Ali formed own stuff back in 1912, 1913. Set up our own stuff already. Right? Set up our own stuff. By 1929,
had all our own stuff. Like had our own stuff. Right? Like had it. Self-government. And say I'm not marching anymore. I'm done marching. What are we about to do? What are we doing? Right? You say whatever, but prisons call us to send stuff to the prisons. Like they call us. They call us. Moors in Virginia, they're in the school. They're not just some Moors you see on Facebook. Yeah, we're Moors and all that stuff. They're in the school. Like the school is telling them, come to the school. Moors. But it was that we don't have our own stuff. Right, Moore called me today that Friday, website's launching. Right? Websites launching for Moors who are not opportunists and who are not, bootleggers selling people's stuff and all that. Right? But if you have, a product, you'll be able to upload it to that site. And it comes with all the trimmings and all the stuff that CNN site has and whoever else site has that's on that level. Just because Moore, this is another Moore who's in a school, right? Moorish American that works in the school, right? That's doing something for the Moors. Just to show, we could do this. You know what I mean? They got Moors that are doing whatever it is that comes to mind. They do it. And everybody needs to be on it. Everybody needs to take their place personally, because again, if not even just a black guy, but a know thyself black guy that was a lawyer, he gave up all the stuff because he's done fed up with all this lecturing and all this BS and all these lectures, and we're still in the same conditions. Ain't nothing changing. And he was on that other side of the fence, already knows what's up, knows what's going down and all that. Coming out here spilling the beans to these people about what they're supposed to do. And then they go home and chill.
When y'all get sick and want to form something, give me a call. When y'all get tired of marching and begging and pleading, then give me a call. I'm not going out there begging no crackers for nothing, including my license or their license. These crackers want to give it back, that's their problem.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Or their license.
No.
When y'all get tired of marching and begging and pleading, then give me a call. I'm not going out there begging no crackers for nothing, including my license or their license.
Okay, so Moorish Americans who are, allodial in character, Moorish Americans who are allodial in character, we have recognized through studying that if it doesn't come from me, as far as the document to identify my knowledge or skills or ability to operate whatever, then it's not mine. It's the people's who's giving it. So here's the lawyer guy, attorney guy, bar card member guy that acknowledged that even though he went to all the schooling or whatever, because he's already he's top of his career, right? He's coming out and telling them that that's not his license, that they didn't make him an attorney, lawyer, whatever it was that he was. That's their stuff. And that's the same thing that applies to the birth certificate instrument, same thing applies to social, same thing that applies to any type of identification these people give you. It's not yours, it's theirs. Remember, this is a lawyer guy, so I'm pretty sure that he's familiar. He's not just talking because, he has their license. He's speaking to his family that you get your stuff together. These people aren't waiting around. They're implementing what they have to implement. The man said, hey, 911's not getting called by Jews. So highwaymen don't go there. I mean, why would they go there if they're not getting called? No need to go there. Self-governance. Little thing like that. Not calling 911. But don't get excited, you know what I mean? Negro, black, colored, and everybody else that's close to them, been in the grinder. So you look outside, you're going to see highwaymen there, and they're going to be there. Right? Not saying that what the Jews have can't happen in the hood, but, people can't even shoot and stuff like that and doing madness, then it is what it is.
These crackers want to give it back, that's their problem. That's what happened now. 3 years. Well, why he asked for it? Why would he demand it? It's your license, crackers. If these crackers took something that belonged to me, I'll be down there whipping butt. They ain't took nothing that belonged to me. Didn't belong to me. And I wasn't going to do what they wanted me to do with it. Cracker don't give you no license to protect the community. They give you a license to do in the community. I'm in better health right now. And I will run around these courts fighting for everybody. It's a madness. I'm not begging, pleading, or nothing. When y'all get ready to form a government, give me a call. I'll write the Constitution.
Okay, so clearly they missed the whole point of the good brother. Missed the point. Just like they missed the point of El Hajj, just like they missed the point of Martin, just like they missed the point of Kwame Ture, just like they missed the point of David Walker. They missed the point of everybody who came and told them what it is that they're supposed to do. So, brilliant individual came and schooled us to, one, the truth about our nationality and birthrights, that we're not Negro, black, colored, we're Moors. Right? Moors are descendants of Moabites, Canaanites, Hittites, etc. Right? There's a steady campaign to have people think that he's, you know, he doesn't really know what he's talking about, and, you know, he didn't really get to do everything that he was supposed to do because he died so young and all this stuff. Right. And everybody speculates, but nobody doesn't check what he said. Just check what he said. You know what I mean? Just fact check everything that he said. And guarantee you get sent places. But individuals that want that fame and nobility that Noble Drew Ali had, that made him who he was, respected, right, honored, there seems to be blatant just disregard for his work. We're not even talking about the man, but the point that he came to make, right? Automatics came to make a point that night. And don't forget, that night he was with John Henrik Clark, Amos Wilson, all the people who been telling these people, oh, you call yourself black, black tells you what you are, but it doesn't tell you who you are and all that. And keep missing it. And then you have other individuals coming up that know that they're Moors, know that they're Canaanites, but they want to play like they have no connection to Canaanites and Canaan. And then talk BS about Noble Drew Ali. Right? Now, the plagiarized works of Timothy Drew Ali's Circle 7 Quran, the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus, and how, whatever, they didn't even put the full stuff. It's not going to be that deep though, it's only a minute of this.
Shalom, so it's Taza Dog, and yeah, what I really wanted to do is, you know, a lot of Moors, you really got in your feelings and your emotions. People like, what's this guy named Jonah Bay, one of the Bays and L's and so on and so forth, got real upsetting emotions because I brought out information explaining how many of the Moor people are, you know, spell it however you want it, M-O-O-R, M-U-U-R, whatever, it all adds up to the same thing, that you actually enslaved Hebrew Israelites and people from Africa, other people from Africa. I brought out in previous videos, which were actually undisputable facts, how the Moors actually established treaties during the time of Queen Elizabeth, and Queen Elizabeth like armed them with weapons that they actually literally invaded West Africa with, enslaving our people. And when Columbus actually, you know, sailed to America, it was actually a Moor navigator that showed him how to get ahead. So, you know, again and again, there's a lot of strikes against people that refer to themselves as Moors. You know, you might have seen me use the term Tazadak Shah Bey, but the Bey was actually only added a few years later as a catalyst to try and attract these people that refer to themselves as Moors.
Right? So, like we tell you, jealous of the fame and nobility. Knows that Bey represents Moors. Knows that. Right? You know, as you said, you know, actual facts. Knows what Bey means. There's a Hebrew Israelite now. So a Hebrew Israelite took on the name of Bey to attract people that would understand what Bey is, to the fact that they're not Beys, they're really Hebrew Israelites. Now, where I come from, that's called a scam. Where I come from, that's called scam. Like that's called you played somebody. So they took the fame and nobility, used the fame and nobility, right? Same thing with, ISIS founder, call himself Ali, right? But has paperwork that says Bey. Same thing with Malachi Zadok, Malachi York, and then to not really deal with it. Sometimes have the, sometimes not have it, and all that stuff. This game that people play, causing the confusion, because it's all going into the syndrome that these people have. The syndrome of really being content with not having the full scope. As Moorish Americans, we have the full scope. Like we have the full scope, right? We have 360. And other Moors will say, 360, 720. Right? But we only had the full scope when we came into Moorish science. Same thing that, quote unquote, Dr. Ben, who's Hebrew Israelite, but he didn't really understand history until he went to the Moorish school. How come he didn't go to the Hebrew Israelite school? He's the original Jew, Dr. Ben. So if he's the original Jew and he's going to a Moorish school to get the top education, then all these people who call themselves Hebrew Israelite, they should be wanting to study and learn from the Moors, because we're the ones with that information now that was relative to that school that the original Jew, Dr. Ben, who all these guys worship or whatever, went to. Not only that, Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, chosen people. Along with the doctrine of hell and eternal punishment, there came into the theological world a very warped idea of a chosen people. In the minds of certain churchmen and their followers, the belief became general that God chose certain people to be saved in heaven and elected the remainder of the race to eternal damnation. There is not the slightest foundation in the Bible for such a belief. There is, however, a beautiful teaching about a chosen people. In all the history of this race, God has at different times chosen certain ones to do certain work. Sometimes he made the choice of an individual as Moses, Elijah, and Paul. Early in recorded history, he chose Abraham, and then his family, and then the whole race of Abraham's descendants. This race of people were called Israelites, and they were chosen for a special purpose. In God's plan of blessing for all men, they have been watched over, kept, guarded, guided, and disciplined by the Most High in a marvelous way, that the seed of faith in the one true God might be kept alive and nourished in men, and that a people might be prepared through whom his kingdom would be established upon the earth. But the chosen people of the greatest importance are the class described by Peter in his first letter. Ye are an elect race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for God's own possession, that ye may go forth the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Big quotes. The calling of Israel was justified when out of Israel came Jesus Christ, the world's deliverer and savior. The ministry that he began in Palestine has been going on for 2,000 years and has not yet reached its completion. Now, if Jesus came out of Israel, but he began his ministry in Palestine, that would mean that from an ancient perspective, Israel and Palestine are relative places. The jurisdiction today, called Israel, is said to have usurped the Palestine jurisdiction. So the question lies now with the so-called Israelites. Where are you from? Because if Israel is Palestine and you're repping Israel, then you're saying that you're down with the Ashkenazis who didn't have anywhere to live, and then they went, because they figured nobody's going to know, and they stole the birthright of Palestinians and claimed that they're the Jews. No different than Europeans came to America, stole the birthright of the Moors, and now are sitting in their seat as the Moors, with Moroccan flags behind them when they're doing speeches and all that. So there's a fact that the Atlantic is really a mirror reflecting what's going on and making those two places one. When you go into Palestine, you get to the origin of Palestine being Peleset, P-E-L-E-S-E-T. Now Peleset comes from Egypt. Now remember, if we're talking ancient, if we're talking biblical Israelites, then you're talking about Palestine. You're talking about you're Judean. Right? If a Hebrew's going to say, I'm El, and El comes from Canaanites, then Hebrews are Canaanites. Israelites are Canaanites. Hebrew Israelites are Canaanites. Black Jews are Canaanites. If we are going to say we're one, you can't say you're not the other. Because, as we know, when you check the records of quote-unquote tribes that are quote-unquote black, they will say they're descendants of Israelites. There are certain tribes that do say that. There are certain tribes that do say that. Why do they say that they're Hebrew Israelites in America? Because they crossed the river called the Atlantic. Not the river over there. The Israel BS. The Atlantic River. To be here, in this land. And again, if you ask the mighty Hebrew, it's your nationality, he's going to pull you out something to show you. Which is the only Hebrew that I've seen do that. The only Hebrew Israelite that I see and have something to prove. You know what I mean? Just to show as evidence. All right, you know, if that's who you say you are, you could prove that on that. All right. He's making a claim. As an Israelite, you have claim here in the Americas. The same claim that Moors got. Think we all know that Israelite and Moors are Canaanites? Are Moabites? And keep in mind, this is new folly coming up, because this is just something uploaded February, right? So this is new folly. You notice the black guys shut up. Do you know the black guys that were talking BS about Moors? You see those guys shut up, right? You recognize the dirty Moors who like to hang up on people and stuff like that. They shut up. Why? Because this is Allah guiding this. These people don't matter. You know, we're Allah and man. That's why we say we're active Moors. Because you have to be of sound mind to be active Moor. Can't be, you know, not really knowing, guessing if you're active. You're not guessing. Right? Don't stand on your square doesn't mean stand there. That's passivity. Stand on your square doesn't mean stand on your square and then you just stand there. You're active more. You stand on your square. Standing on your square is movement. So remember today is El Hajj Day, so we're gonna drop something that somebody dropped. We'll deal with that after. Critical consciousness. Developing critical consciousness in an age of oppression. And this is Hermes-press.com. Critical consciousness is the ability to perceive social, political, and economic oppression and to take action against the oppressive elements of society. Right? So the oppressive element of society was misnomers. Yahweh Ben Yahweh knew that, told these people that they're not black. Remember, he's after Drew Ali. Noble Drew Ali told people that they're not Negro black colored. Right? The oppressive element of society, denationalization, taking a people out of a royal priestly status and putting them in the position below animals. And then creating the thought processing of these people to keep them in that state and then step away and say that you never did anything. And a lack of critical consciousness is what has brothers and sisters don't want to admit the fact that if Hebrews use El, then they're Canaanites. How are you Israelite if you're using Canaanite stuff? Lack of critical consciousness. The inability to perceive social, political, economic oppression. They don't even know that they're oppressed. You're laying in the street. They don't even know that they're oppressed. Alton Maddox knew. Amos Wilson knew. The concept of critical consciousness was developed by Paulo Freire, primarily in his books Pedagogy of the Oppressed, Education for Critical Consciousness. The tactics of critical consciousness and a pedagogy of the oppressed were first developed by Freire in his work with third world people, helping them gain an awareness of world conditions while teaching them to read. Paulo exposed our educational system as one in which the teacher is the depositor, the student are the depositories. The teacher issues communication which students passively receive, memorize, and repeat. Knowledge becomes a gift bestowed by those who consider themselves knowledgeable upon those they consider to know nothing. The people who call themselves Bay when they're not really Bay. Right? Reel you in to their folly. Teachers and administrators choose the instructional program content and students adapt to it. That was like what Brother Amari was talking about on Sunday, about dealing with the trustee of the school board with regard to your Moorish American children that are in these colonizers' schools. That make sure you rip these so-called trustees and let them know their obligations. They don't do anything over the phone, nothing at parent-teacher meeting, writing. So you have a hard copy, evidence that you put them on notice that your child, children, offspring, heirs are not wards of the crown for them to play Black History Month with in February. And find him something else to do when the Black History stuff is going on. And they will basically do what they're supposed to do. Because, you know, if they're claiming to be trustee, then, you know, it's not like they're hiding saying, you know, that there's something else when they're a trustee. They actually call themselves trustee. So, just like Brother Alton said, self-governance. So that's you for yourself. Dealing with the obstacle trying to stop you from reaching critical consciousness. Because most people see the obstacle and then they yield, which spirals them downward. No matter what you learn after that, you have imploded your critical consciousness. They want to know how come stuff doesn't work, and I've been doing this and I've been studying this, and why is it not working? Because there was that time when you had an obstacle as Moorish American and you did not face the obstacle. You yielded to the obstacle. And that implosion is why stuff's not working. That one incident, because keep in mind, after that time that you didn't deal with it, you did that few other times not dealing with the obstacle. Turn away from it. And keep in mind that in the writings that the brother wrote relative to critical consciousness, this is from teacher learning perspective. And it sort of dribbles into, you know what I mean, society. Right? But we're looking at from our mentor, our teacher, and the things that he presented to the Moors that are in line with this concept of critical consciousness. And that it was already done. Not some stuff that he's trying to figure out. It was already done. All we had to do was put in the formula and you're going to get the answer. Just put the formula, that's all. The more students work at storing the deposits entrusted to them, the less they develop the critical consciousness which will result from their intervention in the world as transformers of that world. The more completely they accept the passive role impressed on them, the more they tend simply to adapt to the world as it is, and to the fragmented view of reality deposited in them. This is why every other nation knows you guys could go do your BS from 8:45 to 3. But you better be home by 3:30 so you can go to the class, and then after that you have the class, and then that's just for the weekdays. And then on the weekend, 8 a.m., you're about to go to whatever class till 12, and then 12 to 4 or whatever else class. And then after that, then you're going to go do your homework, and then you can get a 10 minutes and play some video games. That's how they do. Because they know that the more students work at storing the deposits entrusting to them. Now remember, look at this from our people out there who don't have the information we have as Moors. The stuff that's been deposited into these people as what the truth is. Not a prophet told them, some guy told them, some lady told them some stuff, they're running with it. Right? The more students work at storing the deposits entrusted to them, the less they develop the critical consciousness which would result from their intervention in the world, taking your place amongst the affairs of men, interacting with people, having your fez on, having your turban on, having somebody run up to you like, wow, you look beautiful today. And you didn't do anything different than yesterday. Actually, yesterday you weren't wearing a turban. Today you wear a turban, and then you get all these compliments and all this energy coming towards you that's beautiful. Right? Your intervention in the world. What it means for somebody in the world, wherever they're at, to just, mind their own business, and somebody walks by in a fez or a turban. Right? The intervention in the world as transformers of that world. Oh, so Noble Drew Ali was putting all this information into you to make you a transformer? So you take this energy that he gave you, take this knowledge that he gave you, with all these other people, yeah, that would transform society. Right? Remember, think about convention picture and stuff like that. I mean, panoramic one that they don't like to give up, that they say they can't get anymore and stuff like that. But the panoramic one that certain people have, right? All those people trusted that they were Moorish American. There were some there dressed in Kemetic stuff. There were some of them dressed in suit and tie. Some of them dressed in dashikis. Some of them kufi on. Some of them with turban on. Some of them wearing nothing. Some of them got bow tie. What do you think was going on? You think it wasn't critical mass with regard to critical consciousness back then? They might not have knew the truth about their nationality and birthrights, but trust me, they knew that they weren't Negro, black, or colored. Because if you say you're Negro, black, and colored, then these guys are taking you on the plantation. Even in 20s, don't forget. Mantis Views 29 showed you the slave stuff, the plantation that they still got about 800 years or 400 years, 600 years, whatever this stuff been around. Their stuff, their plantation, it's still there today with people out there picking stuff that doesn't look like the owners of the so-called owners of the plantation. Freire worked to help third world people overcome illiteracy. Today, his insights can be applied in two different kinds of literacy. Those who cannot grasp the sense of letters or symbols, those who can read in a grammar school sense, but who cannot read, understand the meaning of words they see. Now more than ever, we need to begin developing a critical consciousness in all of us who are oppressed by this new imperialistic strategy of globalism. We're up against a number of obstacles. The lack of awareness that we are oppressed, the lack of solidarity among the oppressed, the loss of a common tradition of human rights, the indifference of oppressed people in their situation. Right? So when we go to Paulo Freire, F-R-E-I-R-E, first name Paulo. We go to his Pedagogy of the Oppressed, page 99. Humans, however, because they are aware of themselves and thus of the world, because they are conscious beings, exist in a dialectic relationship between the determination of limits and their own freedom. Limit situations, once perceived by individuals as fetters, as obstacles to their liberation, these situations stand out in relief from the background, revealing their true nature as concrete historical dimensions of a given reality. Men and women respond to the challenge with actions which Vieira Pinto calls limit acts, those directed at negating and overcoming rather than passively accepting the given. Right? So the accepted, given form of government is mobocracy. People even use it in conversation like that's really what it is, right? The obstacle to the people's liberation, like when we look at what Noble Drew Ali presented relative to us exercising in a grander scale than what they were exercising back then, right? The thought processing of saying, well, something is obviously wrong because nobody else is getting shot up, you know what I mean? Like, something's obviously wrong. And seeing that thing and overcoming it is the direction that they're supposed to go. But again, they revert to passive, lay down in the street. Ticket, no, go pay. Somebody sent a letter, oh my gosh, I got caught, and get behind the wheel and whatever. Oh, look, always looking in the mirror. This not dealing with the oppressive obstacle, stunting the ability to raise to the next level. Right? And again, you know, this is more with people coming in, because a brother called me today, right? Good brother, right? Good brother. And he's not from here. He's from Ghana. And he said, you know what? I've been sitting back and I've been watching, you know what I mean, what you guys been doing and stuff, and I need to find out about this process, because it makes more sense to be a Ghanaian more than a black Ghanaian. Right? Because he's over here. Like over here, he's not just Ghanaian. Like he's Ghanaian with stuff attached. Ghanaian Canadian, black Ghanaian, you know what I mean? You know, if his mom's something else, half, whatever like that. And doesn't need the confusion. Also, has situations. And keep in mind, this is not somebody that, you know what I mean, like brother's an electrician, he has a career and all that stuff. Like he's straight. Unionized stuff and all that, trade, whatever, stuff hanging, he has the stuff. Qualified electrician, like super qualified, right? But he's not from here. He's from where the so-called people that over here say that they came over here on a slave ship or whatever. And he came to the realization that, remember, he's from over there. Then he came here. Might not have been on a slave ship, he might have flew. But he's not in his own land. And from with a foreigner mentality and land that's not his, logically, I should connect with the indigenous people here, who would be the Moors. Because if I connect to these people, they're gonna say I'm black and I'm African and these things, which I'm not that. Like I wasn't taught that I'm that. Right? And we've built before. Right? But whatever it was made him cross the line. Deal with the obstacle. The obstacle of, you know, like why not why not go through the process? I mean, if I know that I'm not black and everybody's gonna classify me as black, the only way to get out of it is to face the fact that I'm not black and be what it is that, and then that's gonna open the highway of consciousness. Right? He's gonna be coming off, merging off the 1 lane, whatever, into the 5 lane. Right? And again, his critical thinking helped him get to the level of critical consciousness. Because, like I'm saying, brother's electrician and stuff like that. Right? So the mind used to master that is not joke mind. Right? Like you have to have a certain mindset for that field. Right? It's like techie guy has a certain mindset. Right? In order to deal with that realm of technology. Right? So the limit situations, right? Limiting his ability to whatever it is that is making him look at this from a different angle. Because like I said, we build. You know what I mean? It ain't nothing. We build, we trade information, you know what I mean? But the point being that this is somebody that's not from this side. Taking into consideration, again, Brother Lanre, who again is not from this side, right? Is here dealing with individuals who are trying to misclassify him. But he knows he's Nigerian royalty. They ain't no different than Abdul Rahman and, you know what I mean, sundry free Moors and stuff like that. People who are royalty and then they get caught up in some slave BS that has nothing to do with them. And you know that there's a way to overcome that. And it's not even bloodshed or nothing like that. Limit situations. Situations that cause you to not deal with the situation. And in you not dealing with the situation, you plummet into darkness. The Noble Juali came to bring you out of. You put yourself back in it. Consciously. You know, everything might be good out here, but in there, it is not the limit situations in and of themselves which create a climate of hopelessness, but rather how they are perceived at a given historical moment. As critical perception is embodied in action, a climate of hope and confidence develops, which leads men to attempt to overcome the limit situations. So those people send you that stuff in the mail, right? About Heru Bey March 18th or whatever like that. That's coming for his flu shot. You need to sign this form right here so he can get his flu shot because, you know, the flu's going around the school and we want to keep everybody protected and safe and stuff like that. Right? The attempt of vaccinating my child. Oh man, there's got to be a way to get out of this. Right there, you get a little crack. It's, are you going to bum rush the door, or are you going to play around like you don't want to get into the club for free? There's parties going on. You know what I mean? Like, you got Moors out there discharging debts and stuff like that. Party, hardy. You got Moors with their own plates. They haven't paid nothing. They haven't whatever like that. Exercise their birthright. You got Moors out there that they got a job and they got their little name stuff. It says Bay on it. And they're walking proud at their spot where they work at. Parties going on. Situation comes up. You know, life altering. And it deals with, are you going to stay in the Negro state and get violated? Or are you going to face your oppressor or oppression? And as soon as you decide to say, I'm going to face the oppression, regardless of what level it is, regardless whether you're at it or whether you're neophyte, once you realize that there's oppression and you take it on yourself to face it, a climate of hope and confidence develops, which is why you're taking that position of trying to even get over this thing. You're at least making the attempt to confront it. This objective can be achieved only through action upon concrete historical reality in which limit situations historically are found. So in this understanding of facing obstacles, right, in order to overcome them, so that when you overcome them, it gets you closer to critical consciousness for self. So then when you reach critical consciousness for self, then you could help everybody else get on board, right? There's a historical reality. In your mind frame of how am I going to do this, and well, I know that it could be done, you know, I have faith in, you know what I mean, where there's historical evidence which limit situations historically are found. So there's somebody going through this exact thing, creating a certain energy, getting out of it, and that energy is in the atmosphere now. For you, if you're on your square, would draw those things to you, right? And Moors who are studying and whatever like that, stuff that I'm talking about, they're like, yeah, I know exactly when that happened. Because that's how real this is. Because every living thing, especially in the Moorish movement, is bound by a cord. And people think that, you know what I mean, like, there's no unity. If we're bound by a cord, then we're united. By force. By force we're united. Because remember, those who aren't on the vibration don't have to pick up on the frequency. Only those who are on the vibration will be on the frequency of even knowing how to relate to what it is that we're talking about relative to them being Moors and not claiming to be all this other stuff. Right? Our consciousness is supposed to raise. We're supposed to vibrate higher. We're supposed to vibrate faster. Like it's a natural thing that's supposed to happen. But what is it that we do? Stunt that. Stunt that following the mere ideas of man. Instead of, you know what I mean, clearing out those ideas and then get to the Allah that's talking to you through this individual, through a situation, right? Recognizing something happening for you to get to that next level, opposed to something happening for you to be mad or be emotional, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's either happening for you to get to that next level, or for you to realize that you're full of BS, you need to sit your ass down and go study. Right? Limit situations imply the existence of persons who are directly or indirectly served by these situations, and of those who are negated and curbed by them. Once the latter come to perceive these situations as the frontier between being and being more human, rather than the frontier between being and nothingness, they begin to direct their increasingly critical actions towards achieving the untested feasibility implicit in that perception. On the other hand, those who are served by the present limit situation regard the untested feasibility as a threatening limit situation which must not be allowed to materialize and act to maintain the status quo. So Nick Cannon is reaching critical consciousness for himself, right? So if you've seen the picture with him at the All-Star Weekend, whatever, and then he's walking by Jay-Z and Beyonce, and they have their mouth on the ground, looking at him, being what they won't be, because they want to stick to the status quo of where your designer being a front row so people can dashiki turban, like this is what you guys are getting. Not even at Craig Hodges. Oh, you gonna meet the president? No, put on the royal gown. I don't care if it's Bush, cracker president, KKK president, doesn't matter. Forget all those jeans and suit and European BS. We're gonna do our stuff. We're not going to maintain or act to maintain the status quo. Right? Had them weak. Jaw on the ground. And I know for a fact that Beyonce was looking at him like, I have one of those at home. I should have worn mine. I should have worn mine. This guy wore the stuff. I should have worn mine. Mad at herself. Go home and then it's just on the little mannequin head just staring at her like, should have took me to the All-Star game, though. Right? And then again, right, there's the limit situation that they're sitting there in awe. They're looking at him like, shit, like, you know, of course Jay-Z's like, fuck, I should shine him the Rock Nation and shit like that. You know what I mean? Right? Because it's pretty much done. Either you're on the side of raising consciousness, or you're on the side of dumb it down. And the two don't really mesh too good, so don't try to ride pine bandwagon. Okay. Those who are served by present limit situations regard the untested feasibility as a threatening limit situation which must not be allowed to materialize and act to maintain the status quo. Right? It could have even been on a level that Beyonce thought about wearing hers. And the limit situation was, oh, I don't know, people might think whatever about me and they might think about, and then goes and sees Nick Cannon do it would have been cracking the door, bust the door open if she would have had hers on, him have his on, right? Jay bring the big chain, right? Jay come with the fez on, and everybody inspired because why? They're all on this critical consciousness of, don't forget Alton Maddox gave up the license. So these guys can give up their deal and give up all their stuff that they got for the benefit of the whole. That's not something far-fetched. But, Noble Drew Ali had the fame and nobility he shared. These people got fame and nobility and they're keeping that to themselves. They're not sharing nothing. You know what I mean? You're gonna grovel. That's your brother though. That's your fam. Part of the nation. Right. When people lack a critical understanding of their reality, apprehending it in fragments which they do not perceive as interacting constituent elements of the whole, they cannot truly know that reality. When people lack a critical understanding of their reality, apprehending it in fragments which they do not perceive as interacting constituent elements of the whole, they cannot truly know that reality. So we know our reality because, like we're saying, right? Like if you check, let me show you, like the reality. Interacting constituent elements of the whole, right? So you have to perceive all these fragments as part of the whole, which is why, I'm going to show you right here, right? Which is why, right there, on the wall, Ben had it, is the unity poster with everybody on it. So this is not just, like we don't get it or something like that. We are, as Moorish Americans, students of everybody. We don't pick and choose stuff, schools of thought, because everything's Moorish science to Moorish Americans. Certain people are going to reject certain stuff. That's on them. They have a right to not want to know. You be ignorant if you want to. It's okay. It's cool. Be ignorant. But doesn't mean that we have to be ignorant. Especially when we know that we got the knowledge or whatever. We're not playing like, we kind of have it or wish we had it or whatever. We know that we got it as Moors. We know we have it. And we have an obligation as the whole to disperse this information to the fragments that they would come join the source. It's not playing around like you could be something else and not be Moors. Like, what are you guys talking about? To truly know it, they would have to reserve their starting point. They would have to reverse their starting point. They would need to have a total vision of the context in order subsequently to separate and isolate its constituent elements, and by means of this analysis achieve a clearer perception of the whole. That's why we told Moors, you come into this information, go back over all the black stuff that you thought was telling you some black stuff. You realize that all of them were telling you about nationhood and nation building and self-sufficiency and how could we unite and come together, and just go read Amos Wilson books. Just go read Naim Akbar. What do you think they were on? What? Like, why would somebody who's a psychologist or whatever, that's Asiatic, be trying to stress that school of thought on his people? How child psychology is affected more so than adults. What are you doing that for? You realize that he was modern day ancient returned? That he has obligation to the whole, not just himself and his children and his house? Recognizing the whole. And remember all this stuff right here is dealing with learning stuff, right? But it's dribbling into the world, right? And being that we are manifestations of the founders of the world, there's a certain place that we should be at before anybody is engaged or before we consider an engagement. In all the stages of decoding, people exteriorize their view of the world and in the way they think about the face of the world. Fatalistically, dynamically, or statically, their generative themes may be found. A group which does not concretely express a generative thematics, a fact which might appear to imply the non-existence of themes, is on the contrary suggesting a very dramatic theme, the theme of silence. The theme of silence suggests a structure of mutism in face of the overwhelming force of limit situations. Right? So some people are so backed up with limit situations that forget even being part of the status quo, they don't even articulate anything anymore. They've become so oppressed that even at the sight of freedom, they don't want it. They'll turn away from freedom given to them. Right? I must re-emphasize that the generative theme cannot be found in people divorced from reality, nor yet in reality divorced from people, much less in no man's land. It can only be apprehended in the human world relationship. To investigate the generative theme is to investigate people's thinking about reality and people's action upon reality. For precisely this reason, the methodology proposed requires that the investigators and the people who would normally be considered objects of that investigation to act as co-investigators. The more active an attitude men and women take in regard to the exploration of their thematics, the more they deepen their critical awareness of reality, and in spelling out those thematics take possession of that reality. So there's a landscape of themes that can be used to create the reality. Some of the things in the landscape should maybe not be considered. But the awareness of the reality, the awareness of we are a nation, the awareness of, he actually beat 9 felonies or whatever like that, and he's not getting bothered anymore. Like these, being aware of these things, being aware that there is a Moorish empire because we've studied to know there's one. Being aware of them, restructuring history and taking quote unquote Israelites or Moors who are Aboriginal and indigenous to the Americas and making them Negroes. Recognizing that these themes exist allows us to create the reality that is based on the themes. So there's a theme that RV Bay Publications is, they're robbing people and whatever like that. Anybody who believes that creates that reality for themselves. Right? So that's all they would be bumping into by accepting that illusion as a reality. All they're going to get is illusion after that. Because there is a reality, if they would have went to the theme themselves, if they would have looked at the landscape themselves, looked at the board with all the evidence on it for themselves, they would solve the crime. But if you don't have the board with the evidence, then you're playing blinded. And if you're blinded, then you're definitely not seeing what the reality is. You can't even make sense of what's going on, where you are, anything else. Right? So the critical awareness of reality is based on the exploration of the thematics or themes. We realize that the aspirations, the motives, and the objectives implicit in the meaningful thematics are human aspirations, motives, and objectives. They do not exist out there somewhere as static entities. They are occurring. The real danger of investigation is not that the supposed objects of the investigation, discovering themselves to be co-investigators, might adulterate the analytical results. On the contrary, the danger lies in the risk of shifting the focus of the investigation from the meaningful themes to the people themselves, thereby treating the people as objects of the investigation. So you have the like Mr. X Bay, right? Discovering to be co-investigators might adulterate the analytical results. On the contrary, the danger lies in the risk of shifting the focus of the investigation from the meaningful themes to the people themselves, thereby treating the people as objects of the investigation. So the concept of the Moors and Noble Drew Ali and Aquarian Gospel and he plagiarized and the Moors are falling for some. No. If Noble Drew Ali plagiarized the Aquarian Gospel, then that's on him. That's not on everybody. Like, that's only on him. What does that have to do with Moors? But this is how they, in their state of limited conscious awareness, limited activation of their five senses, they have to continue to pick at or nitpick at things that are irrelevant when you really look at the if we look at the full scope of what it is, it's information that came from Tibet. Levi Dowling got it, and Noble Drew Ali got it. There were no Akashic records, there was some secret stuff that some monks gave them the stuff. One of them took it, used it for Europeans, helped them. Then one of them took it and prepared something a little bit different for Asiatics in America. But the principles don't change. It remains the same. Now, with the 20 minutes left, we want to, there was this article about critical consciousness, and they used El Hajj Malik al-Shabazz to show the transition into critical consciousness from being naive, right? And you know, there's some quotes and stuff like that in here that are very relative to this process. And again, what we're taking is this idea of critical consciousness and applying it to what was presented by Noble Drew Ali for the Moors, right? Wherever it leads would be based on you using your five senses, right? And again, because it's the 21st, using El Hajj as an example of, you know, going from 0 to, you know what I mean, 102 seconds, right? Completely reforming the faculties of the mind. And as soon as that reformation happens, you know, with people who are influential, they get them out the way ASAP. Because you can't have these people inspiring other people to reach critical consciousness. Like, we can't have a Noble Drew Ali again, a Garvey again. These speakers who they say something, everybody's listening. The Michael Jacksons, the Princes, you know, the Princess Dianas, the people who get taken out as soon as somebody realizes, hey, they're trying to get everybody to get to critical consciousness. Right? The Bob Marleys. The transition from naive to critical consciousness. This case study is divided into 4 parts, each part named after a chapter of Malcolm X's biography. The attempt here is not to give the reader a full account of Malcolm X's life, which he himself has already done, but rather to extract several key passages which indicate thought patterns at different stages of his life. Malcolm X's unique experience as an American black, his transformation from teacher's pet to pimp to racist to liberationist is an extraordinary example of what Freire described as the growth from naive to critical consciousness. My father was not a frightened Negro, as most then were, and many still are today. My father believed, as did Marcus Garvey, that freedom, independence, and self-respect could never be achieved by the Negro in America, and that therefore the Negro should leave America to the white man and return to his African land of origin. My father wanted to find a place where he could raise our own food and perhaps build a business. The teachings of Marcus Garvey stressed becoming independent of the white man. In the second semester of the 7th grade, I was elected class president. It surprised me even more than other people, but I can see now why the class might have done it. My grades were among the highest in school. I was proud. I'm not going to say I wasn't. In fact, by then, I didn't really have much feeling about being a Negro because I was trying so hard in every way I could to be white. Author. The attempt to become like the oppressor is typical of naive stage consciousness, in which oppressed individuals blame themselves for their problems and overtly model the oppressor's habits, dress, and lifestyle. Malcolm X's teacher says, Malcolm, one of life's first needs is for us to be realistic. Don't misunderstand me now. We all here like you. You know that. But you've got to be realistic about being a nigger. A lawyer, that's no realistic goal for a nigger. You need to think about something you can be. Now, there's a lot that was skipped because it was dealing with the stuff we don't care about right now. Malcolm had been denied a formal education, and now he began to see the importance of knowledge and its role in the liberation of his people. Quote, I have often reflected upon the new vistas that reading opened to me. As I see it today, the ability to read awoke inside me some long dormant craving to be mentally alive. I certainly wasn't seeking any degree the way a college confers a status symbol upon its students. My homemade education gave me, with every additional book that I read, a little bit more sensitivity to the deafness, dumbness, and blindness that was afflicting the black race in America. During most of this period, Malcolm X was dependent upon charismatic leadership of Elijah Muhammad. Quote, to us, the Nation of Islam was Mr. Muhammad. What he bonded us into, the best organization black Americans ever had, was every Muslim devout regard for Mr. Muhammad as black America's moral, mental, and spiritual reformer. When this faith was shattered, Malcolm X left for Mecca. This experience broadened his perspective and helped him see oppression as more than the result of an evil class of individuals called white men, but rather as the result of a complex system which worked on an international scale. Mecca. That discussion with the ambassador gave me a new insight, one which I like, that the white man is not inherently evil, but America's racist society influences him to act evilly. The society has produced and nourishes a psychology which brings out the lowest, most base part of human beings. In the part, I have made sweeping indictments of all white people. I never will be guilty of that again. And as I know now that some white people are truly sincere and some truly are capable of being brotherly toward a black man. There are excellent examples of what Freire described as critical consciousness. The problem is no longer in individuals or groups of individuals, but in a system, a complex interrelationship of norms, procedures, policies, and laws which work to victimize both the oppressed and the oppressor. It is the system that is to blame, and it is the system which must be changed. Quote, the word for revolution in German is Umwälzung. What it means is a complete overturn, a complete change. To overthrow the king of Farouk in Egypt and the succession of President Nasser is an example of a true revolution. It means the destroying of an old system and its replacement with a new system. Furthermore, at the critical level of consciousness, the individual sees that this system works on an international scale. Malcolm X's faith in Allah never wavered. It became more profound as his life experiences became more difficult, until in the end of his autobiography, he says, "And if I can die having brought any light, having exposed any meaningful truth that will help to destroy the racist cancer that is malignant in the body of America, then all the credit is due to Allah. Only the mistakes have been mine." And even though he sees life as controlled by Allah, yet he maintains that as an instrument of Allah, as an individual, must also act. "I felt that Allah would be more inclined to help those who help themselves." Malcolm X's faith was not that of a hopeless victim enduring the suffering of this life and depending on rewards in a heavenly afterlife. His faith was a source of strength and a justification for struggling against suffering in this life, a mandate to oppose injustice now, a command to act in the interests of liberation. Freire suggests the critical stage individual is more scientific, willing to challenge old dogmas and to find new truths from new experiences. This is also borne out in Malcolm X's experience. "You may be shocked by these words coming from me, but on this pilgrimage, what I have seen and experienced has forced me to rearrange much of my thought patterns previously held, and to toss aside some of my previous conclusions. This was not too difficult for me. Despite my firm convictions, I have always been a man who tries to face the facts and to accept the reality of life as new experience and new knowledge unfolds it. I would like to study, ranging study, because I have a wide open mind. I'm interested in almost any subject you can mention." Summary: magical consciousness is characterized by acceptance and resignation in the face of brutality and overt oppression. It is typified by silence, by very short responses to very complex questions, by simplistic casual relationships, and by the absence of guilt. The respondents in the first case study were unable to conceive of changing the situation in which they found themselves that were consistent to believe that those conditions were governed by force beyond their control, and that their only problems were biological survival. Malcolm X was never a victim of mental consciousness. He was born into a family which had already rejected acceptance and resignation, which saw events as influenced by men as well as by God and other uncontrollable factors, and which went further than biological survival in terms of defining one's problem. Malcolm was born into an environment in which the central problem was what Freire described as characteristic of naive consciousness. The oppressed live in a duality in which to be is to be like, and to be like is to be like the oppressor. Rejection of oneself is a specific form of self-deprecation. Self-deprecation is another characteristic of the oppressed, which derives from their internalization of the opinion the oppressed hold of them. At this point, Malcolm discovered Allah and Elijah Muhammad. His life is transformed by new myths of racial history, by an increased sense of self-worth, and by a fanatical faith in a single individual. If a person does not move from naive transivity to a critical consciousness, but instead falls into fantasized consciousness, he will become even more disengaged from reality. In the semi-intransitive state, men are predominantly illogical. In a fantasizing consciousness and distortion of reason makes men irrational. The possibility of dialogue diminishes markedly. Men are defeated and dominated, though they do not know it. They fear freedom, though they believe themselves to be free. They follow general formulas and prescriptions as if by their own choice. They are directed. They do not direct themselves. Their creative power is impaired. They are objects, not subjects. The critical transitive consciousness is characterized by depth in the interpretation of problem, by the substitution of casual principles for magical explanations. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, but people don't want that. They want trust this, and they want metaphysical whatever, and esoteric other stuff, and the casual principles are enough. You don't need the magical explanations. Well, the green fez means the no, it's birthrights. It's a fez. What's the problem? The magic stuff. Well, Noble Drew Ali, he threw some sand in there, and you don't need all that. The core principles, which, we got 5, so it ain't even like some deep stuff or whatever. Just get your medical, physical Bible dictionary and look up all of the principles. See what those say. To realize the magnitude of what this man brought. It wasn't shallow. Right? The critically transitive consciousness is characterized by depth in the interpretation of problems, by the substitution of causal principles for magical explanations, by the testing of one's findings, and by openness to revision, by the attempt to avoid distortion when perceiving problems and to avoid preconceived notions when analyzing them, by refusing to transfer responsibility, by rejecting passive positions, by soundness of argumentation, by the practice of dialogue rather than polemics, by receptivity to the new for reasons beyond mere novelty, and by the good sense not to reject the old just because it is old, by accepting what is valid in both old and new. So, you do will that the Moors got something out of today. We got Blog Talk Radio at 9:30. Blog Talk Radio at 9:30. 319-527-6751. 319-527-6751. MHHS. Eyes wide open on Blog Talk Radio tonight. All right. And don't forget, you can still get your WOW
album, willofallah.com. For those that have heard it, you know, they got good reviews and stuff. They're feeling it, you know. And then we'll probably save those questions for the Sunday flex. Because we should have internet to stream Saturday's lecture that we're going to be doing in Ottawa this week, or near Ottawa. So Islam to the Moors out there that set everything up. We're going to see y'all Friday night, you know what I mean? We're going to do the do for the weekend with the fam. We will, let's see, we will close out with
So I just want to get you in. What? I'm rockets. Who says we ain't in the building? Who says we ain't into building? We the Moorish master masons, architects for your children, reppin' Friday 13th like Jason without the killing. But we promote life, oh, it's all about the feeling. And we invoke light, yo, we them light beings. Though you might see him on the block getting his portion, might be talking to cops, giving them caution. Occasionally wearing his fez when he's walking. See the turning heads, whispering, gawking. But he's locked in, and he's zoned out while we boxed in our own house.
We study the mystics, the adepts, the magi. Wisdom of the ancients can uncalcify eyes. Possible mission, free mental numbness. Extract the substance, rid minds of dumbness. Use the source, don't care what some purport. As we know by being told man knows not. Many before the floor, souls got bought. Placed in the devil's hands, ruling the seven lands. To dogma rituals, negro spirituals. Brainwash subliminal, keeps thinking to a minimal. They still criminal, in a world digital so pitiful. Mental survival so critical, it's visible. Can you see past writers' blocks? Hashtag zombies with waves of cyber thoughts. No need for cell phones, they speak through saw palms. It's nothing for alarm, chips and forearms.
Wind, brass and bass, such a beautiful serenade. Women feeding me grapes, I'm feeding to new serenades. Whether the sky is clear or gray, rain when you hear a fake, giving life to seeds. Speaking through who not here today. Show you the future in a glimpse. You can always look to these hoes like hallucinatory pimps. Sun walked the desert, been more of a since I found God. Look back, used to see his prince. Forget being a prince, I'm a G. OD, grown man, no Jody. Deny it, you don't know me. Don't make me tap into the old me. That's like a couple hundred years. Walk around town with a couple hundred peers and release the peace of up fears. The sun gon' shine, so what tears? This young brother here just trying to get his third eye clear.
Ish, deep, Moors don't sleep. Invest in your mind and body and unleash. Real life rap, spitting over tracks. Conscious thinking and living and then attack. Ish, deep, Moors don't sleep. Invest in your mind and body and unleash. Real life rap, spitting over tracks. Conscious thinking and living and then attack.
So as the moon sets, the sun takes its place at schools on blocks, inspired spots, filled spaces. Peel back, rats, who got cases. Fire stain the corridors of phlegmo faces. Game changers, rule benders and no pretenders. Style lenders, channel my vibe through the vibrant optic lenses. Send a message to our veterans. Soldiers up and get it in. We on our verge, we emerge subliminal beings. Third eye seeing, still a participant unwilling.
They wanna break me, shape, bait, grade me. Rolling with my main G, double O-M-B. S-O-N is crazy. For a minute that you think you could take me for a fool, like a native to his land, being schooled by a foreign dude. You've mistaken me, spiders on the roof, in the dark tools. Have you saying you've mistaken me? You better move or I'll mark it. Power pin is my tongue, your existence to target. Revealing all lies and deceit on the market. Genocide carried round in pockets, I knock it down, bulldozer. David to Goliath, it's an exposure. Some big cats ruling and it's getting closer to your downfall. Round up all your soldiers.
Little homie, I was seeking a fortune, tired of misfortune. I just wanted a portion, everything that I never had, though I needed my portion. Blowing like porcelain, haters fragile as porcelain. Getting broke, tired of being broke. How we acquire hope is the DJ skilling some dope, just to keep us afloat. Mind as deep as the boat, brain
is a lethal weapon, we one need to elope. When I speak, I provoke. Walk in the room with my aura feeling like heavy smoke. Feel like when the levee broke under my Louis fitted the semi-poke. Cause dirty cops will kill your boy, you ain't a joke. The cost of living, higher profits in private prison. These little girls are selling bodies just to pay tuition. These little niggas selling niggas just for bail condition. It's like the slavery never ended, where's the intermission? I wanna free the world, but I'm one man. A couple ones like me and make one plan. I wanna free the world, but I'm one man. A couple ones like me and one plan.
Woo! Wisdom of the womb. Wisdom of the womb. WillofAllah.com. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through His holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali, Islam. Peace and love, Moors. Continue to stand strong. You know what I mean? We already know what's up. We already know what's up. We're not based today, not based tomorrow. Islam, Moors.
Interacting constituent elements of the whole. Right? So you have to perceive all these fragments as part of the whole, which is why, I'll show you right here, right? Which is why, right there, on the wall, been had it, is the unity poster with everybody on it. So this is not just, you know what I mean, like, we don't get it or something like that. We are